Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's ASRG webinar, Vehicle Trusted Time Clock, presented by Jocelyn Lehu, Senior Cybersecurity Lead Architect at Empire Renault Group. He has been defining the overall vehicle cybersecurity concept over there, leveraging over 20 years of experience in hardware and software architecture for embedded systems with expertise in areas such as smartphone and digital TV technologies. We are delighted to have you with us during the session. Feel free to post your questions in the Q&A section you will be having on the right side of the screen. You can also upvote any questions you might see interesting that will help us to prioritize them during this Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Once again, thank you all for being here, and a special thanks to Jocelyn for taking the time to share your insight with us today. Jocelyn, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. So thank you, and so hello to everybody. So first of all, I'm really happy to be invited by Automotive Security Research Group to present this webinar, which is about the vehicle trusted time clock solution that adopted by Ampere SDV platform. Okay, so now I will start. Okay, so the support of an accurate and trusted vehicle clock is becoming crucial. Why? First of all, connected vehicles are going to adopt in the coming years advanced technologies like ADAS features based on V2X communication, which require precise and synchronized timing between vehicular systems for safety, coordination, and optimal functionality. Moreover, the usage of certified public keys with certificate having a relatively short validity is highly recommended by national security agencies like ANSI or NIST to prevent operations that leverage compromised keys due to a long-term usage of crypto material. So what are the risks if we don't fulfill and get an accurate and trusted vehicle clock? It can expose the vehicle fleet to denial of service and tampering attacks on vehicle connected service with major operational, financial, or even safety impacts. For example, unavailability of FOTA service can force car OEM to recall all impacted vehicles in after-sale shops for manual updates using diagnostic tool, and so with financial impact. So such type of attack is a big source of motivation for hackers. In terms of attack with similar impacts that has already occurred, we can remind the attack that happened at the Geneva Motor Show in 2019, where vehicles of 7 popular brands were fooled, indicating the location of the vehicles in Buckingham, England, and setting the year in 2036. Okay, so before going further, I will give you an overview of vehicle cybersecurity zone generally deployed in most of vehicle electrical and electronical platforms. Generally, it is divided into 3 distinct zones to isolate critical functions. In zone 1, okay, or exposed zone, it includes all onboard components like AVI or IVC system that have one or more external communication interface with external system. External system like the OEM of board platform via cellular network. It can be car driver phone via Bluetooth, or even electrical charging station via the PLC interface. In zone 2, so as namely also named as interface zone, so it isolates zone 1 and zone 3 components and manage access control of in-vehicle communication channels, Ethernet or CAN, between zone 1 and zone 3. It is often achieved using hardware or software mechanism like hypervisor or firewalls. We can see also some protocol breakers can be implemented in this zone to deconstruct and reconstruct OSI protocols and in order to reduce attack surface from zone 1. And finally, in zone 3, or protected zone, we find all primary safety critical functions of the vehicle, such as the braking, steering, powertrain, ADAS, or cabin system. One thing to add about it is that despite the protections offered by zone 2, okay, zone 3 can still have vulnerabilities, especially components in zone 3 that directly parse data from zone 1, such as software update, payloads, JSON Web Token, or certificate, are at risk. So to counter this, even in zone 3, this component can be coded in a memory-safe language like Rust and run in a sandbox environment, thereby to reduce the attack surface and potential consequences. And finally, for this conference, one point I also wanted to highlight, which is important, and the solution we are going to describe, is that we have one important rule in the security zone, is that all TLS communication with external system shall be terminated in zone 1, so in exposed zone. And of course, not to expose directly zone 3 components to attack surface. Okay, so how is done traditional implementation of vehicle clock system? It is generally implemented or allocated in zone 3 on the system responsible for the vehicle wake up upon Dario 7 when the vehicle is in low power mode, like key fob detection that will wake up the vehicle, okay? And the implementation is based on a real-time clock. And this real-time clock has a drift and then need to be regularly resynchronized with an external accurate time source, like the GNSS signal. Example, we can see some real-time clock equipped with piezoelectric quartz around 100 ppm can lead to a drift around 700 milliseconds per 2 hours or 8 seconds per 24 hours. So the conclusion about that with a target of 100 milliseconds of accuracy for most challenging use case that we target, typically for V2X short-range scenarios, it means that the vehicle clock needs to be resynchronized every 15 minutes to keep a good accuracy of 100 milliseconds. So traditional implementation are relatively simple, but present major drawbacks in terms of security. Most of the time, the GNSS receiver is located in the IVC system, and then the IVC system is distributing the accurate time to the vehicle clock system in zone 3 to be resynchronized. But if we imagine that an attacker that has taken control of the IVC system can tamper or spoof the ETC accurate time sent to the vehicle clock system, okay, like this, from a request from a vehicle clock system, then it can lead to erroneous vehicle clock resynchronization, which may result in vehicle operation disruption or vehicle core function misbehavior with operational and safety impacts. Okay, we can take an example about V2X long-range services. Here, what I show is the local hazard alert. This use case consists in informing the driver of a vehicle about a local hazard, not yet visible on the road, and if required, automatically consists of adapting the speed of the vehicle to the approach of the incident. So in this example, we have the black vehicle, okay? Sorry, in this example, we have the blue vehicle, which is stopped, and the black vehicle detects it thanks to its perception sensor, and it sends then the information, okay, to the V2X backend server. This information can also be sent directly by the blue vehicle. It's also a possibility. And the information is aggregated by the V2X backend server with other V2X events reported by other vehicles. So there's a possibility check, which is made by the backend server to be sure that this event is plausible. Okay, and so if the event is validated, the green vehicle in this example, which is behind, which is approaching the local area, for example, around 2 kilometers of a local hazard, receive the information, okay, verify with the timestamp that the alert is still in time, so the alert is accepted, and then the vehicle first entering the zone give an alert on cluster to inform the driver, and if there's no reaction from the driver when adaptive cruise control is on, then the vehicle will slow down smoothly, approaching less than, for example, 0.5 kilometers from the incident. So this is the basic approach without any attack. Now, let's consider now that an attacker just after takes the control of the IVC system of a green vehicle and tampers the accurate time, okay, few minutes backward in the past. The blue vehicle in this scenario restarts few minutes later, okay. It sends the information to V2X backend server that is no more a stop vehicle. Again, backend server aggregates it with other vehicles information, and the information is sent back to the green vehicle that there's no more incident with a timestamp. But the problem here is that the vehicle receives the information, but is going to reject it because it will be considered in the future. And so the vehicle keeps warning the driver, and if no reaction, it will start to slow down when approaching the zone less than 0.5 kilometers. So possible impact about this. In this scenario, such time tampering shall not lead to a hazard because the slowdown is going to be very slow. It will be limited to 0.2 G, so it will be rated ASIL QM in terms of safety. And so at any time, the driver can take the control back of the vehicle. So in terms of safety, no issue. But in case of massive attack, then it may have significant impact on car OEM reputation if all the vehicle in the same area is going to slow down or to inform with bad alerts. So not good. So now we have to find a solution to harden traditional vehicle clock implementation. So what will be the objective? The solution first shall fulfill the following security objective and following zone allocation rules. First of all, ensure end-to-end integrity, authenticity, and freshness of the time value sent from the accurate time source up to a vehicle clock system in zone 3, in protected zone. As mentioned, vehicle clock allocation shall be in zone 3. Why? Because we don't target to take it in zone 1, because if it's in zone 1, it will be directly exposed to attack surface, and we want to avoid that. And of course, the rule that I mentioned before, that the TLS communications with offboard shall end in zone 1. So, taking into consideration this roadmap of objectives and requirements, we have studied two solutions. The first solution, based on a classical approach, relying on NTP and its extension NTS, and the second one based on a, let's say, innovative approach with periodic resynchronization using two time sources. So let's start by the first solution that I will call NTP-based solution in the next of the presentation. So what is NTP? If you don't know it, NTP is a set of protocol to synchronize computer clocks over internet. The time calculated by NTP normally has a good accuracy, so around 30 milliseconds. So it is really a good candidate regarding the 100 milliseconds that we target to obtain in terms of accuracy. But what is the issue with NTP? NTP is a quite old protocol. If we take only NTP, there's no NTP server authentication nor protection of exchange between NTP clients and server. So no protection of the time used for resynchronization. By the way, there's a RFC listed here that lists many possible attacks. So then it has been updated and the issue has been solved. And there's another RFC that introduces NTS, which secure the client-server mode of NTP with two coupled protocols. So TLS, that we commonly know, and AEAD for authenticated encryption with associated data. So the exchange, secure exchange between client and server consists of two phases. Phase one, the key establishment between the server and the clients. It relies on TLS to exchange the server and client secret keys of AEAD, and phase two, where the NTP time is exchanged relying on NTS to secure the exchange between the NTP server and the clients. So it relies on the secret keys for server and client mutual authentication and protection of the NTP payload, which contain what we target for resynchronization, which is the up-to-date accurate time. I really simplify the explanation here. It's a simplified version. The long version is available in the associated paper that you can refer after the webinar. There's a paper which details all that stuff, and you can have a look at it if you're interested. So then we start with this, let's say, solution, and we first wonder how we are going to integrate it in a connected vehicle following the roadmap of requirements that we have to fulfill. So for end-to-end security, first of all, the NTS client in first approach should be allocated in zone 3 in the vehicle clock system. But it's totally in contradiction with the CBOI rule, which asks to end the TLS termination with external system in zone 1. So then we had to split, in that case, if we want to integrate it, to split the client in two parts. The TLS part in zone 1, for example, in the IBC system, and it will be okay with the cyber rule, and NTP part in zone 3 on the vehicle clock system. But what is the issue then related to this allocation? If we do that, in phase 1, if an attacker having control of the IBC can then spoof the NTS server and transmit its rogue server key for phase 2 to the NTS client, okay? And then in phase 2, the attacker can then be authenticated as a legitimate NTP server through its authentication tag signed by its rogue key, and then provide an erroneous accurate time, and by consequence, a bad resynchronization of the clock system, and then possible impacts. So based on that, we identify that, and then we wonder how we could be able to cover identified threat. So this is a basic standard NTP secured NTP response of the server, which contains the authentication tag signed with the server key. Okay, and because we had to think about a solution to customize then this response. The response then consists in the generation by the NTP server of an authentication tag. We call here extension field authentication, which is the signature of the, of the NTS extension field here. okay? And this is combined with a random, okay, for anti-replay protection using the private key of the NTP server. And the addition of this tag, okay, inside the optional field of the NTP server response. So thanks to that, okay, this is an overview of the overall solution. In green, you can see all the onboard and offboard customization that we identified and what that was required to fulfill the objective. So what we see, it was really significant onboard, offboard unpacks. Rapidly on offboard side, pre-existing off-the-shelf NTP, NTS server like those from so Cloudflare or Crony, we find that it cannot be used without modification. So meaning that a dedicated NTP server would have need to be developed to accommodate the additional protection shown just before, which shall imply recurrent merging maintenance costs for the OEM. And on board side, the integrating the NTP client finally is complex because the system is split across different security zones, Zone 1 and Zone 3. And the critical NTP component in Zone 3 needs also some tailored protection because they are going to parse some data from the server, so open to, let's say, to vulnerability exploitation, and then should have also been implemented the parser in Rust and sandboxed to reduce attack surface, the remaining attack surface despite Zone 2. So from that, we make this short study, and finally, we thought that simpler solution was necessary to study. So here comes the second solution, the token-based solution. So let me give you an overview and the principle. So this solution relies on two external time sources for vehicle clock resynchronization. UTC time retrieved periodically, let's say every 5 seconds, from an accurate time source, GNSS signal, like for the traditional implementation, plus a trusted UTC time retrieved periodically with a period which is longer, let's say every 1 hour, or it will depend on the PPM accuracy I was discussing and introducing in introduction, from a trusted time source, and securely transported up to the vehicle clock system in a JSON web token that is generated and signed by the trusted time source. Upon reception of an up-to-date accurate time or an up-to-date trusted time, depending on the periodic or the frequency of the refresh, the vehicle clock system in Zone 3 combines the 2 times value and their availability status to resynchronize the vehicle clock. For example, in case both times are available, the difference between both times is computed. Let's say the difference is small, less than 1 minute. The vehicle clock then is qualified as trusted and resynchronized then with the accurate time. The accurate time is then considered as secured. Otherwise, the vehicle clock is not resynchronized and its qualification remains unchanged, until the gap is okay again. So then, periodically, the vehicle clock distributes securely the vehicle UTC time and its qualification trusted or untrusted to all client applications embedded in other vehicle systems like AVC, smart antenna, whatever. Okay, securely, it was not mentioned in this presentation, but securely says that we will rely on secure onboard communication solution like SecOC from AUTOSAR or other solution that we have in our SDV platform, to protect the broadcast and the distribution of the time against replay, against integrity and authenticity, tampering. So then, in case the vehicle UTC time is qualified as trusted, then any certificate-based cryptographic operations are authorized. Otherwise, they are forbidden until the vehicle UTC time is qualified as trusted again. Note that the solution, of course, considered corner cases. For instance, if the 12-volt battery has been disconnected, or following an extended unavailability of the cellular network or GNSS signal, for example, a vehicle parked in an underground parking, the first reconnection to the trusted time source, okay, to get the trusted time is done without checking the expiration date of the trusted time server certificate. Okay, it's chicken and eggs. So in that specific case, we doesn't check the expiration date. So now let's see how the integration is done. So we respect because the TLS termination is done in the IVC system in zone 1. The video clock cross-synchronization and the secure exchange with the trusted time source is in zone 3 in the vehicle clock system. So the vehicle clock system is making a periodic request of having an update, a refresh update of the accurate time. It receives it from IVC. Then an update of trusted time is asked. So connection to the trusted time source. There's a UTC trusted time sync request. The trusted time source is generating and is signing the trusted UTC time, which is transported through the IVC system up to the clock system, which is verifying the trusted time response with some public. Okay. So in that case, this was the basic approach, but there was 2 residual risks to mitigate. Risk 1, the attacker retains in the IVC system, retains the trusted time sync response from the trusted time source before forwarding it to the vehicle clock system. So it could then, clock system could then receive a time which is to hold. So for that, when the video clock system is making the UTC trusted time sync request, there's anti-delay protection, which is done by a short timer is started every trusted time sync request. And if it's expired, a trusted time sync request is triggered. And then a second risk, the attacker forwards the same JSON web token, okay, signed to a vehicle clock system. And to avoid that, we add an anti-replay attack protection, which is a random, which is generated by the clock system, including each trusted time sync request and part of the JSON web token signature in trusted time sync response from the accurate time source. Now, in terms of impacts, integration off-board and on-board. Here, we have what we considered in the evaluation of the study, that was the impact was moderate, okay? So impact shown in green, also here. So in terms of off-board, it consists of the creation of a new connected service interfaced with pre-existing off-the-shelf NTP or NTS server, okay, like CRODI and stuff like that, using common web API, and interfaced with vehicle relying on a JSON web-based design pattern, which is widely used for other CAR-OM remote services, like remote lock unlock with a smartphone, and which already includes some security feature like anti-replay counters. So something really classic and pre-existing. And for onboard, the integration is simple because finally the integration is mostly located in zone 3 on the vehicle clock system, and the stuff that we make careful of it is that there was a remaining attack surface despite zone 2, and so the JSON Web Token Parser was candidate to be developed in a memory-safe programming programming language like Rust, and executing a sandbox environment to minimize the remaining attack surface in zone 3 despite zone 2. So for us, if we compare the two methods, this one was a good trade-off between complexity and security versus the previous one. That's why this was something that we consider. So I'm arriving to the conclusion now. So the need for an accurate and trusted vehicle clock is crucial, both for time-critical features, such as ADAS feature based on V2X communication that I presented, but also, of course, for any certificate-based security operation. Two solutions have been studied in Ampere to solve traditional implementation cybersecurity issues. The token-based solution has been preferred as much simpler to implement and maintain over time. And the good news is the deployment of the solution is targeted on Renault Group SDV vehicle in 2026-2027. Now, it's the beginning of the solution and beginning of the game. So we have future challenge about it. Reaching the accuracy target of around 100 milliseconds required for the time-critical ADAS features, as mentioned in the introduction, is another challenge. The solutions so now need to be fine-tuned and time accuracy improved to be ready for short-range V2X services, targeted notably for Euro NCAP 2032, where precise timestamps to manage data action between vehicular systems will be mandatory. Otherwise, small discrepancies may disrupt vehicle operation with severe safety impact. For example, Cooperative IEB is a short-range V2X service that aims to support the triggering of automatic emergency braking based this time on ASIL-B data information exchange between vehicles, and not like in the example of V2X long range where it was only ASIL-QM. As example, you can see the principle in the following illustration. In this scenario, a pedestrian is about to cross against a red light. Maybe I will take the OK. The leading yellow vehicle here detects it and sends an alert to all surrounding vehicles. The following blue vehicle receives the alert, and then, thanks to this information, can anticipate by triggering an emergency braking, gaining several milliseconds compared to relying solely on its ADAS sensor perceptions. So yes, we definitively need a trusted and accurate vehicle clock. Thank you very much. I don't know if you have questions. I'll let you. Maybe I will stop to share. I don't hear you. I think, Sharma, you have your microphone, which is off.
Sorry. This usually happens during the webinars and sessions. Like I do forget whenever I come from backstage to front, I forget to unmute that. Okay. So one question which was is regarding the zooming the slides. They want to see the schematics. Like you have presented the schematics, which is too dense. A lot of information
Yeah.
is there. So I think that your presentation will be available later on, right? Where the audience
Yes.
can be. Yeah, perfect. So I think the presentation will be available. So if you had any difficulties or you missed something in the schematics, you definitely will be able to see in more details. Unfortunately, we don't have any kind of major Zoom facilities in the tool at the moment.
Okay.
Okay. Next question which I received from the team was on this one is how can automotive intrusion detection systems like IDS or function safety mechanisms be enhanced to detect and mitigate time manipulation attacks without introducing unacceptable latency or false positives?
Oh, okay. So globally, of course, I think that kind of uh, okay. So in terms of yeah, what we present is let's say it's it's a secure by design solution, of course, but of course, coupled with it, we have also some ideas, of course, to add some kind of probe and some detections to be able, of course, to detect in zone one any kind of let's say of detections before the real attack is done. So of course within this system, coupled with secure by design solution, there will be probably some, let's say, some detection to be done before and suspecting some potential attack or potential attack. I don't know
I
if
think the
yeah.
next question would be almost close to this one. How can we design a resilient multi-source time synchronization mechanism that preserves both integrity and availability of the vehicle's UTC time, even when Zone 1 components like IVI are compromised?
Yeah, for sure. So here, of course, if you don't have any connection here, if you don't have availability in that, either you have a second source, but it will costly. It will have to you will have to have a GNSS sensors inside zone 3 to be able to to keep and have accuracy. But then in that case, you have impact in terms of entry ticket. You have to pay for an additional component so that you can bypass the GNSS, which is in zone 1. Otherwise, no. Here it will be very difficult to find something else. You will keep drifting. Then after, of course, you can expect that you have several components. You could imagine some solution that when you plug your let's say your vehicle in on a charging station, for example. It could be an opportunity also to resynchronize. So you can have in zone 1, we could imagine something like this. Okay, this could be a possibility. I don't know if it answers, but
Thank
it's
you.
some ideas.
Thank you. We have another question from Mona. Would adopting protocols based on PQC, post-quantum cryptography, increase latency? And is a solution or improvement in the works?
No, let's say, so globally, PQC is a challenge which is which is something that is going to be targeted around 2030, because it's recommending to go to that stuff. But the question will be part of a global strategy, and of course, this use case will be pointed out. Right now, for sure, there will be some latency in terms of processing, but it's too early to have the impact in terms of roadmap and impact about it.
Great. I think we don't have any more questions in Q&A section. If anybody would like to have more questions, please feel free to paste it now. Okay, Jocelyn, I think we can save some time for everyone, and you can see the emojis coming up, right? People are liking it, enjoying it, and to the audience, I will just repeat it one more time. Recording of this session, presentations, and a white paper will be available along with this for you to go through in the more details. And with that, I would really like to thank you, Jocelyn, for having some time with us, sharing in-depth knowledge on these subjects. And thank you to all around the world, everyone who has joined it. We really appreciate that. Your support is always counted. And that is what encourages us to continue and keep sharing the knowledge and connecting with the people. Thank you all. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you so much. Have a great time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.